You're listening to the Night Demon Network. Go to nightdemon.net/subscriber to unlock more exclusive content.
Welcome to the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast. I'm your host, Nesbit, and Night Demon is into 2012, has a new logo. They're starting to develop a band identity with an EP recorded and mixed and a few shows under their belt. And you can see that Night Demon is becoming more of a focus for these guys, with some new tracks demoed and recorded, some momentum building. But the loss of a founding member would lead to some shakeup in the band in early 2012. This is Night Demon, the early years. After Christmas of 2011 and into the new year of 2012, so founding member Pat Bailey returns to college up north, effectively ending his time in Night Demon. So Jarvis is on tour in Europe with the Heartbeats, Brent is on tour with the fucking Wrath, and without a drummer, Night Demon turns to a friend and a familiar face in the Ventura scene, John Crerar. So John Crerar grew up playing in the Ventura, California punk scene and was very much more into punk than any type of metal, having been a member for years in the punk band The Missing 23rd. So John was a fixture in that scene for years. He was the drummer for Dick Circus, Detoxy. He sang in the band Stop Breathing and Missing 23rd. He's currently the drummer in Dad Brains and Detoxy, and he sings in Tight Night and Stalag 13. There's a podcast called the 185 Miles South podcast, hosted by Zach Nelson. If you're interested in this scene and John's place in it, there's a really good breakdown of it in episode 10, where he details all the bands that he played in over the years. But if you've been listening to this podcast for the last few episodes, you'll probably know John as the drummer of the fucking Wrath.
So how did I join Night Demon? Well, on that tour, the Valleys tour, Brent had the 4 songs, the demo at that point, and he would play it in the van, and we'd have it on our iPads or iPods, whatever. And we listened to it a bunch, and I loved it. You know, I was like, man, this is great, dude. You guys are so good. And he told me the whole thing of the band was, yeah, we're just going to do this, put out a 7-inch, make it seem like it could have came out in the 70s. No one knows who's this random Night Demon band. Like, I mean, even before that, I knew he would tell me, we were good friends with Brent and I at that point, because we toured, played a bunch of shows with The Wrath, and I knew the whole incarnations of, the Ritual. Then, we're going to be Ancient Evil. No, and then I was always like, Night Demon, dude. Night Demon's the solid name. And he told me the plan of just putting out a 7-inch and then trying to make it be lost to time, and people don't know if it was a new band or an old band or who the hell is this band, which is really cool and a really cool idea. But I told him, I'm like, man, dude, these songs are too good to just get lost. This is the style of music you love playing, and you wrote these songs with Pat, who you've known forever, and Jarvis, who I've known forever, and like you guys love the same kind of metal, and I've known Jarvis since he was a kid, not a kid, but a teen, and you should do this. And if Pat is living in Humboldt and you can't do the band, like, I'll play drums. And Brent just started playing me a bunch of new wave of British heavy metal stuff while we'd have, drives, 8-hour drives, overnight drives. And I'm like, dude, this is punk. This, like, the drummers aren't that good, and I could totally play this, and let's just do this. And Jarvis was on tour with the Heartbeats in Europe, just killing it over there, and that was his main focus. He was already set to that this was just this fun little thing that they're going to do, and no one's really going to pay attention, maybe. Or that was kind of the point. It was just to make it so obscure that who knows what this Night Demon thing is. And I'm like, no, dude, this is your shot to be in a metal band. Like, your teenage self would, like, hit you if you don't do this. Like, this is your band, man. This is, like, your shit. You got to do this. Let me play drums. I'll play drums. So he was on tour in Europe when we got back from tour, and me and Brent just started jamming like every other day, and just I learned all the songs, and he came back and we finally jammed, and I somehow convinced him to do the band.
So John starts drumming with Brent, learning the Night Demon songs, and also around this time, the fucking Wrath goes on hiatus. So John has lots of time to devote to Night Demon.
And at the same time of me jamming with Brent with the Night Demon songs, the fucking Wrath started kind of splintering because Craig Kasamas, the singer, guitar player, all around great dude, he has a family. He just has a new baby. So he has probably a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, and then a new baby. So he's looking at long-term career goals, and he joins the International Union of Operating Engineers, the IUOE, Local 112, I think, something like that. And he is working far away. He's working 2 hours away, so he leaves in the morning for 2 hours, gets to work, works all day, hard construction job, comes back. He's finding less and less time to do the fucking Wrath, and eventually he moves 2 hours away, which makes it even a little bit harder. And at the same time of us kind of slowing down, me and Brent learning all the Night Demon stuff, we start getting more into this, and the fucking Wrath kind of just goes on hiatus. We're like, hey, we really don't have time right now. Craig's busy with his career, and so we can't really do much without our singer.
So John Crerar, even though he's not really a metal guy, he's more of a punk rock guy. He loves the songs and the idea of Night Demon so much that he commits to being the full-time drummer. Here's Jarvis Leatherby.
John Crerar, who was the drummer for the fucking Wrath, Brent's other band, had been talking a lot to Brent about the possibility of him playing drums in Night Demon. And he brought it up to me as well. And, I guess Brent was playing that, the mixes of the EP while they were on tour, while the fucking Wrath was on tour. And John just really liked this stuff. And it was at that point where when John started talking to me about it, and he was willing to play drums and be the drummer, even though he wasn't into metal. I mean, he liked certain metal for sure, but like he wasn't a metalhead. He's a punk through and through. But he was willing to be the drummer for this band just for the sake of the band existing. And so that really meant a lot to me. And that really did tell me a lot about what we had going on here. When we started the project, we knew nobody out here was going to care because the new wave of British heavy metal sound just doesn't exist out here. But when we were able to expose it to people who had never gotten into that kind of music. They didn't see it that way. They didn't see it as old school new wave of British heavy metal. To them, it was kind of fresh, especially to like younger people where music was getting so extreme by 2011. And, you know, their first favorite bands were already screaming at them. To hear something that was heavy, but had some melodic singing, or something that you didn't have to tune down to C or B to be heavy in Night Demon. We just played in E flat standard, and it was still heavy as fuck. So to hear that and to hear some melody behind it and some hooks, I think a lot of people in the punk rock community said, hey, this is pretty awesome. When they think metal, they're thinking of extreme Cookie Monster grind, or they're probably thinking of, you know, some over-the-top, grandiose, sword and sorcery kind of epic cheesiness. You know, Night Demon was the middle ground, and you know, a good friend of ours, Adolfo Ortega, who was coming to a lot of shows in the early days, he was telling me one night what is different about Night Demon, and he defined our sound as, yes, we're metal, yes, we're a little punk, but more than anything, our sound is street. And I loved that. I fucking loved that. Yeah, we're more street. And I think we're like that in our appearance too. So we're not trying to dumb it down either and look like bums on stage, but we don't have to have, it's not all of the flair. It's not a fashion show. It's we're up there to kick some ass. And yes, we're there to give a performance. And yes, there are visuals. And yes, there is a stage show. And that's something that we've always wanted and we strive for since the beginning. But at the end of the day, you got to lay it on the line like you're in the fucking streets, like you're a band from the streets. And we were going to, soon after this, when we made our commitment to be a full-time band, we were pretty much a street band, literally, because we didn't have places to live. We were that close to being in the streets. Thank God for girlfriends, friends, and family, but there was no stability in our lives domestically at all. I can honestly say that without John Crerar, there may not be a Night Demon today. There may not be a Night Demon past 2011. He really, really encouraged us to keep the band going.
It was fun, and things were going good. And I was like, hey, guys, you guys shouldn't be this mystery band that's put out the 7-inch that no one knows when. And these songs are too good. This is good. Let's do this band.
So into 2012, we have a band with an EP in the can, some new tracks, and a new drummer in place. But with the guys' main projects rolling along, Night Demon is still very much a side project and taking a backseat to the main bands. The main bands and their main projects that were about to have a very hectic month. Here's Jarvis Leatherby.
So moving into the winter of 2012, things with the Heartbeats are really picking up. Here we are. The Heartbeats are getting ready to do the biggest thing that we've ever done, and something that requires a ton of work. And that is the VenAustin tour.
So what is the VenAustin tour? In 2012, 4 bands from Ventura, California, they banded together and they made the 2,900-mile pilgrimage to Austin, Texas, to the South by Southwest Music and Media Conference. Here's Armand John Anthony.
Crazy idea. Let's get 4 of the most prominent local bands at the time, raise some money, and all travel to Texas to basically infiltrate the South by Southwest Festival, which happens every year around the springtime, March usually. And it's sort of a festival / music conference, and I think they also have a movie section too. And it's a huge kind of thing. There's tons of people there. There's basically shows every day. on all hours of the day, every hour of the day. So besides there being what they call official shows, which are the shows that you can only get into if you have passes and you pay for a badge or you're part of the industry, you go see any of the official shows. And, there's different tiers as far as which kind of badge you have for like which shows you can go to. And there's a lot of big name artists that play and a lot of small indie artists as well. But during that whole week, there's also tons of just independent shows and also other smaller independent festivals that go on at the same time. Just to kind of capitalize on the fact that there's just, I don't know, 1 million people that, or 100,000 people that just go into Austin for this 1 week. So that's where we fit in.
So South by Southwest is a pretty important week for anybody in the music industry. From their website, they say the South by Southwest Music Festival brings together artists, industry professionals, and music lovers from around the world to make connections, elevate their careers, and celebrate the magic of live music, from legendary performers to the most exciting new talent. Here's Dusty Squires.
I think best case scenario for South by Southwest was to get noticed, maybe gain some attention from somebody in the industry, which is usually a difficult thing to do, but we were optimistic. And New Liberty never really had like any kind of like business sense, so we were always kind of trying to look for new connections and people to help us out. So I know that was always on our mind, but just getting in with Austin, and being able to eventually go down there and play more shows. And Adam Brewer hooked us up with some shows after the fact and all that. So, just to go down there and network and to showcase and to play these clubs and to meet people and to have fun. And, I don't want to say there was competition, but I guess it was probably friendly competition from all the bands. I think we just wanted to go down there and get noticed. South by Southwest is a huge festival, and there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of people and a lot of acts and a lot of, rubbing elbows.
So the VenAustin tour, so the Ven from Ventura and the Austin from, Austin, Texas. 4 bands from Ventura banding together to assault Austin, Texas. You have New Liberty with future Night Demon guitarist Armand John Anthony and future drummer for Night Demon Dusty Squires. You have Jeff Hershey and the Heartbeats, which was Jarvis Leatherby's main act at the time. You have Aaron Orbit, who you know from this podcast as the singer from Lemieux Lepeur, which Armand used to play guitar for. Also on board was Ventura band 8 Stops 7. Here's Aaron Orbit.
The idea of VenAustin came about probably a few months at the end of 2011. I don't remember who came up with the idea, but I think the overall idea was if we combine all of our resources and ideas, we'd pretty much be able to play as many shows as possible during South by Southwest. I had gone out there once before with Lemieux Lepeur, and that's when I realized it's not really so much about your showcase show as it is just about playing as much as possible and just kind of going out and meeting people. And, South by Southwest is the type of place where you can go and play shows and just meet people at the bar that, play in other bands. And it's it's an easy networking, much easier than say CMJs out in New York or something like that. It's a lot easier just to kind of cruise around, meet new bands, see new bands. So you really just want to play as much as possible. And there's bands going on all day and all night, so the opportunity to play as many shows it's there. It was my first time out as Aaron Orbit, so I wanted to do some shows as Aaron Orbit to really just, because I was doing solo acoustic, to get some shows under my belt before releasing the record.
Hey, buddy, thanks for being a slave, sleeping peacefully, safe inside your cage. Hey, buddy,
Here's Shane Mack, lead singer, New Liberty.
This is Shane Mack, and this is about the VenAustin tour. I quote, "Dear local business we hold in high regard. Greetings! We are the VenAustin tour. 4 artists. 8stop7, New Liberty, Aaron Orbit, Jeff Hershey, and the Heartbeats from right here in Ventura, California. We are headed to Austin, Texas to take part in South by Southwest, which is one of the world's largest multimedia movie and music festivals. This tour is a labor of love by all the artists involved who have teamed up to show the music industry, which has long turned a blind eye to the area, the amazing musical talent Ventura County has to offer."
8stop7, they were a popular band in the 90s. They signed a big major deal, record deal, and you know, back when labels had money, they kind of struck gold, but kind of fizzled out from there. I don't think it really turned out the way that they wanted it to. So by 2012, you know, they were kind of like, you know, Evan had 2 kids, and you know, other guys were doing their own thing, and then they ended up, you know, getting the band back together to finish their record and get out there and play shows again. So it was really cool to see those guys kind of resurrect and bring it back from the dead.
Should I be safe at home? I realize it's quicker than you could know. Past compulsions, breathe convulsions. Sorry seen on falls. Can I be weak when I'm stable? Strong in the cradle, strung out in a fable. Will it ever get saved? I've tried this before. Routines and rewards. What's gonna change? When I want it, I need it. Just one more to satisfy. Can't help it, feel nothing, and nothing feels great.
Aaron Orbit, he's always been involved in bands. He actually played guitar in 8stop7 during their record label run. And on this particular tour, he was out doing his solo thing. He literally would go up there with tracks and just play his guitar, which I give him a lot of credit for, to go out there and do that. And, you know, he had just put out, I think, Sunday Morning Murder Songs, which is a great album. I played drums on 2 of the tracks on that record, and it was a really cool, like, camaraderie type thing with him. Jeff Hershey and the Heartbeats, you know, didn't really know much about those guys. I'd seen them play live.
Yeah, well, I got a gal, 6'4", sleeps in the kitchen with her face out the door, but my gal is red hot, your gal ain't doodly squat. Yeah, my gal is red hot, your gal ain't doodly squat. Well, she ain't got money, but man, she is really got a lot.
Of course, I knew Jarvis, but the rest of his band, it was kind of cool to get a chance to, you know, meet them and hang out with them. I believe Robin Ryder was playing drums with them at the time. He plays drums in Twin Temple, and he played drums in Lemieux Le Peur with Armand, and he plays in Mandex with Armand, and he's a great drummer. So I believe that he was filling in for whoever the drummer was at the time for Jarvis.
I've got replacement guys. So I've got Robin Ryder, our buddy, you know, who we've talked about many times in this podcast, playing drums for me. Never played drums for the band. I've got my friend Nathaniel Morgan from New York playing saxophone. He's never played with me. I've got another guy, a local Texas musician that I found on Craigslist to come and play these gigs with me. You know, I've got Sam Bole on bass and Joe Baugh on guitar. They were on those are my rocks. Those guys were always playing on my records at that point. So that was cool at least. But, it's just frustrating. You want to go out with your band and you're trying to kill it and you're trying to showcase in front of the world's, leading industry people. And you've got this ragtag, we did extremely well, but it was extremely frustrating and always, my nerves are always high during the Heartbeats days because of that. You just don't know what's going to happen in a live scenario. And it's hard to have any consistency and really build up and get better and better when you're changing band members every time you play.
Armand and I were in New Liberty. That was a great time. 2012, New Liberty was just starting to kind of tour around a little bit. We were doing some Weekend Warrior stuff, putting in together like a little, week run here and there.
Tongue-tied and twisted nights, standing in between a firefight. I'm just trying to break the ice. Am I ever gonna get it right? Hollywood, X-rated, dangerous, euphoria's high. Hollywood, sedated, dangerous, you're walking that white line.
But with the VenAustin tour and South by Southwest, that was a chance for the scene of Ventura to go out and really showcase what we were doing and what we were all about. There was a camaraderie in the town of Ventura at the time. When New Liberty came into town, we kind of got everybody riled up a little bit, and guys that had been a little stagnant in the music scene, decided, hey, we should finish the record that we've been working on for 5 years, or there's a lot of things that started to kind of happen with with New Liberty coming to Ventura, which was really cool. It was a really exciting time to be there. The significance of South by Southwest and the VenAustin tour and us being in Ventura and wanting to showcase what we were all about down there, we felt like we had something to offer South by Southwest that maybe they didn't have down there, obviously.
Craziness, bunch of dudes in a van going from California to Austin, Texas to play a slew of shows across several states, including a bunch in Texas, in Tejas, to meet Adam Brewer and the Texas Rock Fest. And it was like fucking surreal, man. Like,
the idea was, like I said, to take all of our resources, pull them together, raise some money, and be able to go out there and pay ourselves and also book some good shows. And, while we're out there, the whole idea is to get out there and meet people, man, and network and just make a name, make a stink, which I definitely think we did.
So 4 bands involved here from the Ventura County area. Jeff Hershey and the Heartbeats, my solo project. New Liberty, the band featuring Armand and Dusty at the time. 8 Stops 7, which was a very big band out of this area, more modern rock band. But in the late 90s, they got signed to Reprise Records and sold 150,000 records. So those guys were good friends of mine. I actually played bass for the band in the early 2000s, just for about a year. And Aaron Orbit was the guitar player of that band. He was the 4th act on this tour. He was doing it. He was coming out as a solo act. So we had, a bunch of friends here in the local scene that wanted to go play South by Southwest, which was and still is the largest music convention in the world. And labels and distributors from all across the world come there for 1 week every year in March. And labels send bands there to showcase. Independent bands go there to showcase. And at this time, I mean, South by Southwest had gotten so crazy where there was so many sanctioned venues downtown, and it was there was a lot going on, but it was still about only half of the clubs were sanctioned by South by Southwest. So all of these other clubs, every other club, every other bar, anybody, I mean, if you owned a parking lot or, you could put a generator or some power in your driveway, there was a band playing. So at this time that we went, I mean, this event is just being completely oversaturated. There's tons of pay to play happening. There's a lot of people submitting, bands just basically coming from all over the world, paying to play somewhere just to hopefully be discovered by somebody. And that was kind of the boat that we were in.
Hey guys, Nesbitt here. If you'd like to support Night Demon and this podcast, the best way to do it is to become a Night Demon subscriber. Not only will you be doing your part to support a true heavy metal band out there really living it, you'll also gain access to a ton of extras. Bonus audio content, a subscriber-only merch store with rare items from the band's archives. You can stream never-before-heard demos and unearthed live concerts from the live vaults. Communicate with the other Night Demon diehards on an exclusive subscriber forum, and gain early access to all press releases, album pre-orders, new merchandise, and a ton more. And another thing that I think is pretty cool is Night Demon will be donating 10% of every subscription fee to the Metal Cares Foundation, which is a charitable fund the band started in 2014 to aid those in our metal community. So head over to nightdemon.net/subscriber and join us as we make heavy metal history together as one. And on a side note, I'll personally think you're a grade A badass.
We did all types of crazy fucking fundraisers for this thing. Car washes.
We did a rock and roll car wash where 8 Stop 7 performed, and I think New Liberty performed as well. I think we all played that benefit car show. And
I mean, we were doing crazy shit, man. We were doing car washes out here. The local press was talking about us. Jeff Hershey and the Heartbeats had to play a gig for the mayor, like a private thing, for a grant from the city.
We took pies in the face at the local park.
Pies in the face. I remember this one time we were in a park. We were doing these like carnival games, and we were all kind of out there, and New Liberty had a show that night at the theater, the Ventura Theater. And I remember before we were getting ready to go back to the studio to pack all of our fucking gear, we were standing in the park, Memorial Park in Ventura, and people were paying to smack us in the face with pies and shit.
So I was getting pies thrown in my face by people that probably wanted to do that to me for years, but they had to pay us to do it. So we were doing that.
New Liberty, we ended up playing, to raise money, we played a show at Spencer McKenzie's fish taco stand in Ventura. And we set up all of our gear on the roof of Spencer McKenzie's, and which is completely illegal. But the owner, John, he's super cool, and he always goes above and beyond. And so we did a benefit show at Spencer's to raise money for VenAustin tour. So we load up all of our gear on the stage, we sound check, we get ready, we have a generator running all the power. It's crazy. It's just what we would do. And so people come out because they know we're going to play. So we have all these people at the taco stand, and I say it's a stand, but it's really it's a really cool building right near the beach. And we've played the block party for them a couple years, and so we're up there rocking out, and we're just causing a scene. And turns out that this one person went to go leave, and another car was watching us play on the roof as they were driving, and we created caused an accident in the middle of the road. And then somebody from the city ended up calling John and says, you wouldn't happen to be having a band playing live music on top of your place of business right now, would you? And he's like, oh, no, not at all. Then he comes over to us mid-set and is just like, cut the music. We're done. So we had to like race to get all of our gear off the roof. It was super windy that day. I had sandbags on my cymbal stand so my cymbals wouldn't fall over. And what a freaking time. So that was another thing that I kind of forgot about with how we ended up finding ways to make money. Just ridiculous. It was a one-time thing for sure. I don't think any of us in all four of those bands would ever want to do anything like that again.
It was amazing, you know, like we did so many crazy things as a band of brothers, you know, to really raise funds and to get across the country in this van so that we could give everybody a per diem and we could eat.
We basically had to raise the money to get all these bands out there and a place where, you know, we could get a hotel for a week for everybody and a way to play these shows. We did a lot of incentives on a Pledge Music campaign.
You know, when you do a Kickstarter, people that donate money need to get something in return. And, you know, so we came up with a lot of cool packages and made it worth it for the people that donated. And everybody was super excited to contribute. We all recorded separate songs for this VenAustin EP that we put out. New Liberty recorded Jailbreak cover by Thin Lizzy. Jarvis did I'm on Fire, Bruce Springsteen cover.
Hey, little girl, is your daddy home? Did he go and leave you all alone? I got a bad desire. Oh, I'm on fire. Tell me now, baby, is he good to you? Can he do to you the things that I do? I can take you high. Oh, I'm on fire.
Forget what 8 Stops did, but Aaron Orbit did Kick Out the Jams. And, you know, it was just a cool, fun, creative time to all get together to do this. And we all, you know, worked our tails off to do it. When we all got together and it was time for people to do the work, and, you know, that's when you separate the men from the boys and who's, you know, the main cat that's going to grab the reins. And Jarvis was definitely one of them. You know, he was the main man, I think, when it came to that. Jarvis and his approach to it and his work ethic, you know, that's when I realized how hard he works and how well he knows the business and how creative he is and how he finds out ways to make the impossible possible. So, you know, I learned a lot watching him work on this tour. And I think to me, it was just one of those things where I'm like, that guy knows what he's doing.
I think the whole thing was 13 shows over 12 days. Played a few on the way there and a few on the way back.
I think I did about 13 shows throughout those, 5 days? And one of the days I did 3 shows. That was pretty gnarly.
The first night of the run, so we had to drive from Ventura to Austin, and that is, I don't know how long that drive is, 27 hours or something crazy. And so we booked a show, I think it was in like Mesa, Arizona, or Tempe. It might have been Tempe. Tempe's not a very good spot for shows, at least in my experience with touring with Night Demon and touring with New Liberty. We had played in Tempe a couple times. So we're playing this shitty bar and nobody's there. It's the first night of the tour.
First night, Big Fish Pub, Tempe, Arizona. Big Fish Pub was ran by a promoter named Don Johnson, believe that or not, Donnie Johnson. No affiliation to Miami Vice, but can't deny that name. Anyway, he was a friend that had helped a lot of us in our previous bands, especially Aaron, Orbit, and the guy's in 8 Stop 7. He had booked them many times before. Became a good friend. Always one of those good guys that, you know, when you get into town and he shows up, you're going to get drunk. Because Donnie likes his Jaeger. So vivid memory from that night. There really wasn't too many people at the show. I think there was more of us at the show than there was patrons. Because, you know, we were rolling 15 people deep. So anyway, play the show, whatever. It's fun. And in the night, Donnie shows up. Let's get the Jaeger out. That was his favorite drink. So he gets the bartender to line up shot glasses from one edge of the bar to the other. You know, this is a pretty good sized bar, probably about 10 feet long. And then the next thing I know, Shane Mack from New Liberty, sitting on a bench, on a stool by the bar. And here comes Dustin out of nowhere.
And I remember we were drinking like Jaeger and stuff. I'm like, that never really does anybody any justice. But I don't even know how it started. Dustin like basically just like came up to me while I was sitting at a bar and, you know, totally puts me in this like crazy, you know, fucking WWF wrestler hold with my chin back, and I'm like on the stool, so he's pulling me back. I'm throwing my thumbs back, like trying to stab him in the eyes because he's all fucking wasted.
I sneak up on him and wrap him up from behind and grab him by the neck. And like kind of like pro wrestling move, just like pick him up off of his bar stool onto the ground, and I have him in an insane headlock, and I just start choking him out. And then Shane takes his thumbs and starts sticking them into my eyeballs to get me to let go. And as he's doing that, I'm squeezing harder. And then Waldo comes over to me and puts me in a headlock. So Shane's got his thumbs in my eyes. I'm giving him the business with the freaking chokehold. And then Waldo's got me in a chokehold. So we're like the Three Stooges in this like ridiculous scene on the ground. I'm wearing my my spandex unitard, so there's like zebra print pants flying around, and it was a scene. And so they broke us up, and you know, 5 minutes later we're like out in the parking lot with each other, like hugging it out, and you know, just like, what is the deal with you guys? Everybody was just like, you're ridiculous. This is night one of our first tour, and Shane and I are just wrestling and fighting with each other, and what a shit show.
And it's like, you know, a half an hour later, Dustin and I are fucking brothers again, like nothing ever happened, enjoying the shit out of each other's company. It's just hysterical, you know? We had such a great time, and we were able to do these things as friends and as brothers. I mean, you spend so much time with one another. It's just, what a trip. I mean, I still remember we were like at a hotel that night, and everybody was like jumping into this pool, and like, you know, just a bunch of friends hanging out, drinking in a parking lot, you know, great times.
We played in Tempe, then we played in Albuquerque, New Mexico. That show was also kind of whatever, you know, not a lot of people there. You know, the bands, we were unknown. So, you know, took a leap of faith to go out there and fund this tour, and we'll have people help us fund the tour. And, you know, the shows were really light. But for us, we wanted to play shows, so we didn't care, you know, all the bands. We just wanted to go out there and play our music. So then I believe from Albuquerque, we went straight to Austin.
I mean, so you couldn't even script it any better, right? Like, we're hauling ass through Texas. We have to be at this place to play at like 11 o'clock. I think Aaron Orbit was actually playing first, and we like fucking roll in, you know, the van door opens up, beer cans like kind of go everywhere, dudes just start tumbling out of the van, us included, and then, you know, 15 minutes later, Aaron's like walking into this joint, and he's got to like play on a guitar that's not his because the trailer tire blew out, and the guys with the trailer are randomly somewhere else on their way, Aaron's like playing on this like really sick Guild acoustic guitar and it's just raging it.
I remember waking up and them saying, we made it. You have 15 minutes. Like, here's an acoustic. Go play, like, while we find a place to park or something. That was bizarre. At the Blue Note.
We ended up renting venues out there. I mean, it was fucking crazy. We rented venues to put on our own showcases. We did VenAustin showcase at a place called the Frontier Bar, which is now known as the Lost Well in Austin, Texas. And it's like the dive bar, but it's like the premier place for punk and metal these days. So it's kind of funny that we set up our event there beforehand. We just did so many crazy things to pull it off. And I was extremely busy with that.
I was just focused on partying in Austin. It was my first time in Austin, and we were just, New Liberty was crazy. We partied our asses off, and it was just debauchery, and, it was crazy. I don't think I could roll like that anymore, but I try my best.
Fandango party. That's all I got to say. Fucking Fandango party. It was awesome.
A good friend of ours' wife worked for the company Fandango. They're like a movie ticket company, So they were having a party there at South by Southwest one of the nights. And she found out we were all there. And so, of course, she put us all on the guest list. So we went down there. And it was an open bar. I'm pretty sure they had Maker's Mark, stuff like that. All you can drink. Man, for us, that was bad news. Bad idea, but a great idea at the same time. So, as part of this celebration party thing, they had a karaoke contest sort of thing going on. So, of course, me being drunk as I could get there, decided to join this contest, get up there, and I sang Motorhead's Ace of Spades. I was in full regalia, leather vest, bell-bottom jeans, cowboy boots, leather cowboy hat, up there singing the Ace of Spades with a Jack and Coke in hand, or a beer, one of the two. And I remember at the end of the song, I poured the beer on top of my head and then jumped off the stage. And as I jumped off the stage in my stage dive sort of thing, all the guys are right there. I ended up punching Chris J right in the mouth, who was our kind of, him and Jarvis were the two kind of masterminds behind this whole thing. He wasn't performing, but he was there with us to kind of just, help move things along. But yeah, as I jumped off, I just fucking clocked him in the fucking mouth. I wake up the next day. I don't remember much else at the end of the night, but I wake up the next day and he's like, dude, do you even know what happened last night? I was like, what? Yeah, kinda. He's like, bro, you fucking won. So I won the contest. And I guess by winning the contest, what I had was, it was like a $600 gift certificate for movie tickets. And that night, being so drunk, I was like, fuck this. I don't give a fuck. I don't need this shit. I hate movies or something like that. And I just kind of like threw the paper on the ground. So Chris picked it up, was like, oh, I'm keeping this thing.
If I had to sum up the entire VenAustin tour in one word, it would be inspirational. Playing at random places in the afternoon and like hanging upside down off of steel railroad beams that were the ceiling, and hanging there upside down with a microphone and screaming into this microphone while Armand is shredding a solo, and I'm like hanging over this balcony upside down and singing, and there's just people all in the streets witnessing this going down. And it's completely normal, like that's fucking South by Southwest, and it's such a great experience.
What a blast it was at South by. We didn't do any sanctioned South by Southwest shows. We played mainly for a particular promoter who was running, what do you call it, the Texas Rock Fest. And his name was Adam Brewer. And he was just a nut, absolute nut. And he set up his own stage on one of the street corners. He also got us a ton of shows down there. New Liberty, I think we played in that weekend. We must have played like 8 times. 512 Bar, this place called Blue Moon, another small bar, the Texas Rock Fest main stage. What a blast. We had amazing time down there. Partied. I got to meet Kenny Arnoff, a famous drummer who was filling in with a singer-songwriter at the Rock Fest. I also got to meet John Tempesta, who plays drums in the Cult, and the Cult also played, so we got to go watch the Cult play. And you know, right place at the right time, meet the right people, and relationships that last way farther than the experience of that tour. We just took advantage of it and went around and really, did the best we could. So I think that was our main focus, was just to go out there and conquer. So I have a feeling we did pretty well. I think we did well for ourselves. I'll say that. When we did the South by Southwest run, Aaron Orbit, 8 Stop 7, and New Liberty, we all decided that we were going to continue touring after South by Southwest. So we did another, I think it was another week or week and a half on the road. Jarvis with the Heartbeats, he was smart and knew that it wasn't going to be worth it for him to go out on the road and play those shows. And honestly, we probably shouldn't have done that, but we were so hungry to get out on the road and play shows that we didn't care if there wasn't anybody there.
On the way back, we did a show in Salt Lake City. And we did the show, and I remember the owner leaving and then not paying us. Somebody at the club wasn't going to pay us because they didn't know anything about it. I remember that was the most pissed I'd ever been on tour, because I booked the show. They didn't pay us. There's nothing I can do about it.
After the Heartbeats left the tour, they took one of the vans home. Then we piled in one of the other vans, continued on the road together, 8 Stop 7, Aaron Orbit, and New Liberty. I know we played a small kind of corner bar coffee shop. We did a show, I think, in Colorado Springs, Colorado. That show turned out to be a shit show. The owners of that bar at the time owned a bar in Ventura called Billy O's. Or they did own Billy O's and then went and bought this bar in Colorado. But there was this opening band, and when we were playing, they started throwing pennies at us and kind of were just really rude. And they had this girl lead singer, and something happened where Shane was talking shit to them, and it turned into this complete disaster where the bar had to kick out the opening band because they were so out of control. Then we were worried that they were going to damage the trailer and our gear. And I forget what the band was, but what a nightmare. And I think that's why Jarvis ended up taking the Heartbeats back home after VenAustin tour and South by Southwest, because he knew that, going and playing some of these smaller shows weren't going to benefit anybody anymore. The whole point was to go to Austin and kick ass, and that's what we did.
So while the other bands grind it out for another week on the road, Jarvis heads back to Ventura, California, and to Night Demon. And after that grueling tour with a band full of fill-in musicians and a couple of musicians for hire, returning back home and playing with Brent and John was a breath of fresh air. The chemistry and the friendship was a completely different vibe when jamming as Night Demon.
So right when we got home from that tour, I was exhausted. I haven't been on the road for a long time at that point, something that grueling. And But right away, John Crerar was like, hey, let's jam. He had been playing with Brent while I was away. They had been working on some of the Night Demon songs on the EP. So that was really cool. So he was kind of ready to go. So we just jumped, head first, right the way in. And needless to say, I was happy to be playing again in a band environment where we had some kind of camaraderie as a unit.
So this camaraderie and chemistry in this new Night Demon lineup really jumpstarts Night Demon. And what follows are more live shows and more new material for the band. And at this point, I guess partly due to John Crerar's enthusiasm, Night Demon really begins to rise and show its face in the Ventura scene. And that's where we're going to pick it up next week with Night Demon the early years. Always be sure to check out the subscriber section on nightdemon.net. We have the VenAustin promo video, a VenAustin tour picture gallery, the tour press release and tour poster, and get this, also in the subscriber store, a few remaining VenAustin tour t-shirts. So these are being brought out of the archives after 10 years. So there's only a few limited sizes available. So be sure to check that out. Until next time, this is Nesbitt signing off.
Thanks for listening to the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast. Head over to nightdemon.net, click on the subscriber tab, and sign up to access exclusive weekly bonus content. If you would like to donate to support the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast, you can do so through PayPal at paypal.me/nightdemonmetal. Additionally, if you have not already done so, please subscribe, like, rate, and review the show on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts.
All hail, Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast listeners. This is Dusty Squires chiming in to tell you about my brand new signature sticks from the London Drumstick Company. I've dreamt of having my very own drumsticks ever since I was a wee lad, and LDC made that a possibility for me. Founded in 2016 in London, England, the birthplace of heavy metal, the London Drumstick Company has trailblazed a path through the music industry and taken the drummer world by storm. When I met them for the first time, they knew their product was going to withstand the beatings of a Night Demon show. They took the time to work with me on getting everything just right. The balance and weight of my sticks are the same no matter what, and the durability is bar none the best I've ever had. I know my sticks will last through the set night after night. I'm truly honored to work with a company that caters to their players the way LDC does. Their innovation and attention to detail is what separates them from the rest of the stick makers out there. Their custom stick sleeves are unbelievable and really make the entire presentation complete. Wait until you see the design they came up with for me. It blew my mind and was a surprise to say the least. They have all kinds of amazing swag, including hoodies, t-shirts, drummer shorts, drum keys, stick bags, towels, face masks, practice pads, and much, much more. Even if you're not a drummer, you can be a part of Demon history and order my brand new signature sticks direct from their website. How cool is that? And to top it off, the London Drumstick Company are giving an exclusive offer to the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast listeners. Go to londondrumsticks.co.uk and receive a 15% store-wide discount using promo code DEMONSTICKS. All capital letters, no spaces, Demon Sticks. DEMONSTICKS. I can't thank everyone there enough for the opportunity to be a part of their family and for them trusting me with their amazing products. See you metal maniacs on the road very soon. And yes, the wood chips will be flying.
Greetings, boils and ghouls. This is your comrade, the Crypt Keeper here, reporting dead from the sanctuary of the strange. Tonight's macabre myth is a fright-filled feature, one overflowing with monsters, madness, and magic.
Visit our website at monstersmadnessandmagic.com to stay up to date on all the dark dealings within the sanctuary of the strange. Enjoy the show.
Hey Metalheads, I'm Mark and I host the Metal Forge. Let me tell you about the show. The Metal Forge features the best underground metal from all over the world. We spend every week with a different artist with interviews, in-depth conversations, and most of all, the music. We also feature audience interactivity where you can submit your questions to the upcoming guests. New episodes are out every Friday at noon Eastern Time at metalforgeradio.com or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Want to know what's going on in the world of music? Then tune in to the Nothing Shocking Podcast, a non-genre based, all-ages friendly rock and roll program. Join us weekly for interviews with all your favorite rock stars from the mainstream to the underground. You can find us at nothingshocking.libsyn.com or anywhere you download podcasts.
Okay, metalheads, you've been complaining that there has not been a channel that plays all of the heavy metal videos from past, present, and future for years and years at this point. Well, that time is over. Heavy Metal Television is back. HeavyMetalTelevision.net is the website. Go there. You can see videos playing 24/7, 365, all the time, all the best from the old school, the new school, and everything in between. Check it out, HeavyMetalTelevision.net. It is where the metal is.